Hey Hodies, welcome to my channel. My name is hautemesstom and thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today we're going to be using some items in their last hurrah and we're going to get rid of them. Just because I'm getting rid of them doesn't mean they're like bad products. These are things that have been in my collection for a while actually, and I never feel myself reaching for them. And I think I'm now at a point where I'm familiar enough with my makeup collection to be a little bit, not always the most, but more honest with myself about like what's actually gonna get used in my collection. That's what we're doing today. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna put some stuff on my face. I'm gonna tell you why I'm getting rid of it, but I'm gonna also tell you why I think that it might be something that could be good for you if you were interested in it. Never take whenever I say that I think something might be good for someone else as an excuse to buy something that you've been looking to buy just because it's an excuse to buy it. Don't use me as that. Anyway, if you are new to my channel is often about loving my makeup collection as it is, being kind of realistic about like what I do use and what I don't use. So if that kind of content sounds good to you, I'd love to have you subscribe. I'm also on patreon.com if you'd like to support me there. And I would really appreciate if you liked this video because that helps me quite a bit. I bought this crop top. Hold on. I know I showed this on my Instagram stories if you saw me there. I kind of feel like Catherine Zeta-Jones in that movie where, is it her and George Clooney are spies? Feels like I'm making up a movie, but anyway, I'll try to find it when I'm editing and put the picture in. George Clooney, it was Sean Connery, and it was called Entrapment, so I'm not that crazy. If you know, you know. If you don't, maybe it doesn't exist. A lot of these things will be leaving my collection. Not all of them are. So I also pulled some things that I just haven't touched in a while that maybe I would feel the passion of decluttering them soon, or maybe I will fall back in love with them. That's the hope. I'm gonna get into it. This is not a thing that has any kind of threat of leaving. This is the Ritual Defeat Thorn Oil. As a reminder, they sent this to me in PR and I keep trying it. I like it. I don't know how to recommend this to you though. I think that's my problem with it, is I really do think people with dry skin will get a lot out of it. I get a lot out of it too, and I have oily skin. I don't use as much as they suggest. They say like 5 to 10 drops, and that's like not what I've been doing because I have oily skin and I'm like pretty realistic about how my skin will react. Also, I don't mind looking glowy or even like kind of sweaty, to be quite honest. It's kind of the vibe that I really enjoy. I do think that people with dry skin would get on with it quite well. But I think if you have oily skin and you use it sparingly, you could get something out of it too. Because, you know, even though we have oily skin, occasionally we have dry patches and things like that. And I do think that this just kind of like helps prevent them. And I do think like, especially as our skin changes in the seasons and everything starts getting drier, especially for those of us who live in climates where like the seasons change quite drastically, where we like go from like being in 90-degree weather to being in like 30 and even colder weather than that. I do think that this will prove itself more invaluable as time progresses into these colder seasons. I would also suggest, if you have oily skin, maybe putting this primer on and then like letting it sit for a bit. Like if you want to go make your coffee or do something in the morning before you come back to do your makeup, allowing your skin to like soak some of it up might be really beneficial for you. The glowiness doesn't bother me, so I will just proceed. But I do think there's merit in letting it sit on your face. Speaking of merit, talk about segues. This is not leaving my collection either, but this is something that I haven't been showing as much love to as I would like. And I just used this yesterday and it looks really beautiful. And I think there was a couple times where I was trying to use it with not a sponge, but if you saw my review of this product, I liked it the best with a sponge and like a very emollient base. And I put it on yesterday under that scenario and I was like, wow, this is really, really pretty. So I'm just gonna use it again today. So yesterday I went thrifting with my friend Tiffany. And we've kind of talked about thrifting on this channel and how I've not made like obviously like a full video on this topic, but I've talked about it here and there. And like trying to find sustainable clothing, like plus size, that feels fashionable in any way. And obviously when you're going to the Goodwill or like any kind of thrifting store, you're gonna get what you're gonna get, right? You don't really get to have a lot of say in the scenario about like what's available. But I was able to find some things in my size. Case in point, this very sweater that I'm wearing, or sweatshirt, I don't really know what to call it. It's certainly activewear, but I'm certainly not going to wear it like activewear. Not that I couldn't, but most of the time if I'm working out, I just don't wear a shirt. Titties just be flying everywhere when I work out. Sorry to Tiffany. We ended up searching this coat rack at the same time, but we both started on separate ends. And wouldn't you know that on my side, there was this beautiful leather coat, gray leather coat. And it certainly like isn't a great, like it's not of the times. It's definitely like something from the 80s. It has shoulder pads, but it's so gorgeous and stunning. Here's the Merit complexion stick. Having seen some other people talk about the Merit complexion stick, I know it's a little polarizing. So if you have it and you don't like it, try it with both a sponge, but also something that's very, very emollient underneath. So like a serum primer or an oil, try it on top of something like that. And maybe you'll like it more. I can't guarantee that, but that is how I find the most success with this. And but just look at it. Just look at my skin. It looks so good. This also isn't going anywhere. I've been trying to pan this all year. And then I kind of got sick of it, so I started using my other concealers. And wouldn't you know it, I like them so much more. But this is so close to being done, truly. So I actually have a couple untouched, maybe not untouched, but gently used. Actually, it's looking really good. I haven't really been liking the way this looked with my under eyes. I mixed this with the Glow Lust. And I didn't like it mixed with that. I don't think I like this under my eyes anymore. I'm gonna keep that one. I'm gonna see if someone else can get use out of the two that I have two more. I'm gonna see if someone else might want these, but these are also old. So I will go in giving them the caveat that these are pretty old. So, and I'll leave it up to them. But they're my friends who also are consumers of makeup, and I trust them to make that decision to the best of their ability. This is something I'm actually diligently, not a vigilante, diligently trying to pan. This is the Fenty Cheeks Out Amber bronzer. It's like, we're getting there. I am a little bit sick of it. I might do, I don't know. I feel like I should just try to use it up. I want to kind of do the thing where I'm making the caveat, I'll use it until the end of the year, like I did with my Burberry Bronzer last year. I don't know. It just, the edges keep on giving product, and I want it to not anymore. It's just proof that hitting pan only gets you so far. There's more work to be done later. If you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen them. Well, if you watch my stories, which is okay if you don't. Fully understandable. Especially yesterday, or the day that I thrifted all of this. I also did a get ready with me on my Instagram, which I don't normally do. Let me know what your thoughts on that were. It was kind of on the fly, and I was well, here's a good way to feature some things. And also, I think that it was a good way to show people who don't subscribe to me on Instagram, friends and family, or people I've met throughout my life in other ways that probably aren't interested in beauty YouTube, getting to see me do my thing. Moving on to the next thing that is actually going to get decluttered. This is the Burberry Glow Essentials #1. I bought this because I really liked my original Burberry bronzer that I had. It was a powder bronzer. It was called Warm Glow #1. And I loved it. It was my favorite bronzer for a very, very long time. But it had so much product in it, I never hit pan. And I was oh, it'd be fun to try the new Burberry bronzer. Well, the new bronzer only comes in this palette. I have a number of qualms with this. I bought this before my no-buy 6 months, and it was one of the things that kind of contributed to my leading to no-buy, to doing the no-buy. Here's why it's not for me. These two blushes, while I think they're really beautiful, are these mauvey shades. And if you're new here, I just don't like mauvey blushes. I was just talking to State of Kate yesterday because she mentioned in a video how I would read her for filth for liking this Charlotte Tilbury quad that was just full of mauves. Yeah, that palette looks really boring to me, but Kate loves mauves, so she is going to get a lot of beautiful use out of that palette. So who am I to really say? It's just if I'm shopping for myself, I'm bored. I wouldn't pick that palette up. If I had it in my collection, if I were to receive that palette in PR from Charlotte Tilbury, it would just sit in my collection rather unused. Probably I would use it once and be yeah, the formula's fine, it's pretty, but it's not something that I can see myself reaching for. That's why I don't like it. The highlighters are really nice, but they do sell highlighters in single compacts. I'm not running out of my way to actually buy another highlighter at this time. While I do love a glow, I don't need a powder highlighter either, but these are baked gelée, so they're a little bit different. But the formula on all of the baked gelée, but we'll talk about this in a second. The formula is really nice, really beautiful, blends out really nice, very glowy, very pretty, very sheeny, looks really good. The formula is beautiful. The shades of the blushes don't call to me. The bronzer formula I really don't like, and that's the only thing that we're going to be putting on in this video. And I don't know what to do with this. I used it a handful of times. It's like a very gentle bronze if you use it as a bronzer, but like almost doesn't show up at all. I did use it in my Michelle Wong video that I did, Becoming Michelle Wong, and it worked for the purposes of that video. And you know what's so funny is I let my friend Tiffany use that in the video where where they came over and we did our makeup together, and they didn't like it. And I was like, oh no. And I think subconsciously I made them use it because I was like, if they like it, I'm just gonna let them take it home today. And they didn't. They also didn't use the blushes, but I think for someone to love this fully, you're gonna have to like all the colors, love the formula of the bronzer. I'm gonna start putting on the bronzer. The problem with the bronzer isn't so much formula, is I think it's kind of dark and it's extremely red, which isn't a bad thing. However, if you're not really looking for a red bronzer, it doesn't feel the best, right, when you're putting it on. And so it is like pigmented, but it does kind of, it blends out pretty nicely. And it looks fine, it looks pretty, but to me, this pigment of red in the bronzer makes the bronzer feel more high fashion editorial to me, and not so much something that I can wear every day. And while I like the idea of being a high fashion editorial girl all the time, it's just the undertone of this in this formulation, because I don't actually mind a red bronzer. I just think it's the combination of this formula, the pigmentation of the formula, right, because it doesn't look bad. I don't know what happened with Tiffany. It did look patchy on them, but I haven't had that issue, so there's two different opinions that coming at you just from my very channel. It's kind of the combination of the whole thing. But the bronzer, which was like kind of why I bought this, ended up being the part that I didn't like the most. And then it was just like, well, now I have this palette. And here's the thing. I know that there are some people that I could pass this on to will like this more than I ever did. And even if they don't like the bronzer, they could like the blushes way more than me, because that's the thing. If I would have liked if I would have liked all of it, or like most of it, I think I would get more use out of it. But the blushes are just like not my favorite shades. I do think if the blushes were colors that I would reach for more, I could see it sticking around and I would like force myself to use the bronzer up, because I don't mind it. It's just not my favorite. So there's the Burberry bronzer, but yes, this is her last hurrah. And I'm getting it out of my collection before my 6-year-old Burberry bronzer Warm Glow #1. I have like a giant thing of coffee. It's not even that early in the morning. It's like 11:30. The next thing I'm decluttering for a number of reasons. The next thing is the Sunset Sky Dewdrop Serum Blush from M Cosmetics. Michelle Phan said some like fucked up shit in her Instagram stories that was very ableist and very troubling. And when I did Critical Sass Live, I talked about the reformulation of these. I brought them up. And my whole chat was just like disinterested in it because of Michelle Phan. And that makes a lot of sense. And I don't use this all the time. I like this, I do, but it's like I very seldom use it because I feel some kind of way about Michelle. And so you know what? I know the perfect person to pass this on to. She does not watch beauty YouTube. She loves blush. She likes this. She almost didn't get it just now. She loves a serum blush. She's had them before, not from this brand, but she's had them before. And she's so far removed from it, no one's gonna see her wearing it. She's not gonna talk about it or recommend it to people. She'll just use it up quietly. I think that's the best solution for this. So while I do like the formula of this, it's like not something I like to have in my collection. And I don't wanna like open my drawer and feel guilty every time I look at it. That is why it's getting rid of it. I had no intentions to buy from M Cosmetics after that. But I had bought these. I bought this, kind of like bought them, and then that immediately happened. And I had been waiting, like I have heard so many things about these blushes for years, and I was like, I'll finally get to try one. And then Michelle certainly did what she did. I also should state, because I'm using stuff that I'm getting rid of, the final look might not all go together because the eyeshadows today are, I think, a little more cool toned than this blush, which is very orange, very, very orange. I do think if I was obsessed with this blush more than I was. I probably would just use it until it was up, but not use it on camera. You know, just like kind of do one of those situations. But I don't even like the blush that much. Not in a bad way, but I don't like it enough to I don't think I would ever use this all the way up. But it is very pretty. And if you know of other serum blushes that are similar to this, let me know in the comments down below, because I'd be interested, because I actually don't like the shade range of this one too much either. Like, I bought this one because I do like orange blushes, but like we all know that like the brownie pink, like the brownie desaturated kind of blushes are kind of where I'm at right now. So if you know of anything like that in a serum blush formula, I'd be very interested. But this is getting passed along. Let's move on to powder. This is something that I will be passing on to a friend. It is the Westman Atelier skincare powder thing. Here it is. I have it in the shade Translucent. A number of reasons I'm getting rid of this. I've heard that people really don't like this. It's not even that I don't even like it, because I think it's actually a beautiful product and it works okay on me. But if you watched my review of this, I say in that review that it's like not gonna be the be all end all powder for me. And the reason I say that is that, like, I still feel like I need to use like a finishing powder or something else that might, you know, give me not like a matte finish, because I actually like how this product, when you put it on, it doesn't really affect the finish of the products underneath it. Like, it does a slight bit of mattification, but it does feel like a powder that is simply designed to set without changing the qualities of the product underneath, which I think is really unique and very cool. It's just not the powder that I reach for all the time. And I use the finishing powder from Chantecaille as a setting powder at this point, and the blur of that product is much better for me than this one. And not to say that this doesn't blur, it's just kind of it's okay. There's like little interesting pellets of hard pan. It's not what I would describe as traditional hard pan, but there's like something interesting happens to the powder, and maybe it's just kind of too sensitive from your oils. It's like very sensitive to that. Powders, their sole purpose is to take down the oils on your face. And if it can't handle, I don't know, I've had this for a couple of months used without that happening. It doesn't seem like a very good powder overall, right? It doesn't really feel like the formulation is all the way there. It's very interesting. I'm talking about this now because I was watching Kaki and she was talking about the Westman Atelier Skin Tint. And she basically said it felt like a product that they just put out and it wasn't completely finished. And I'm wondering if similar vibes are happening to this. The compact is really gorgeous, really heavy, but it is hard to open, which I mentioned on the original video. And so even this is something that detracts me from wanting to use it, because it's like, I don't want to stick my fingernail in there to open the compact when I have the Fenty one right here, which so easily opens. Like, I don't need to stick my finger in it. Just a little bit of pressure and it pops right open. This packaging is hard to open sometimes, but it does seem like based on each product. It doesn't seem to like always be the same thing. But because I find that the cream ones, they're very easy to open. But I remember getting Trophy Wife and it took me like, I swear to God, like an hour to open it. But yeah, the Westman Atelier is gonna get passed on to someone who hopefully gets on with the formula. Not that I didn't, but someone who will love it even more than me. I'm like a little bit sad at getting rid of the compact, but I know that there are other Westman Atelier products that come in a similar compact that I am interested in. It doesn't mean that it's going to be the end of my relationship with a Westman Atelier compact. The next thing I'm just using because I haven't touched it in a while and I think that I should, and it is the Natasha Denona Tan Bronze and Glow palette. And I just want to try this powder bronzer. I've got the new Sonia G bronzer brush, and I've been really liking it with the Tom Ford. I'm wondering if I'll like it as much with this, because this bronzer is more pigmented than the one from Tom Ford. And this kind of feels like one of those products where it could be like, I feel kind of like take or leave it about it sometimes. And I also feel like this bronzer is pretty red. I don't think I've ever liked this bronzer as much as I've liked having the Tom Ford one. Because there are other products in it, I was thinking like maybe about decluttering right now. I'm gonna move it to my top drawer, even though we're like in fall and it's like, I don't need to be as bronzed. I want to play with it some more. It does feel like it could be on the out. And you know what? It's not like that's the first time that product's been on the chopping block. So, and it has been saved after use before. So maybe I'll find something in the other products in that quad that will fulfill a fantasy that I have forgotten about. This next product is going to get decluttered. It is from Pat McGrath. It is the Divine Rose Highlighter. This isn't so much a formula thing because it is a baked gelée. It looks like I don't like baked gelée at all, and it's like actually not the truth. I actually really think baked gelée products are really beautiful. I never reached for this because it's a rose gold highlighter. If you're new here, I'm not doing a lot of rose gold looks. It's like not my gig. It's not what I do. It's not my fantasy. I don't really love to serve rose, pink, gold. And when I do serve pink, very rarely do I need my highlighter to be like rose gold. I have some more like punchy, like shifty pink highlighters that I would use before this because it's just never at the top of my mind. It's a beautiful, like I said, it's like really beautiful. It's like a beautiful formula. It looks really good. I do also think that it is a little bit too deep for my skin tone because when you look at it from the front, you can see normally a little bit of a cast of it. And it's not the kind of formula that I think would really bode well being applied lightly enough where that wouldn't happen because then I don't think you would see it kind of at all. This is not a bad product and I'm not getting rid of it because of like the way I feel about Pat McGrath because I think Pat McGrath makes some really banger products. I just feel the way I do. Yeah, it's just like a little too, just a little bit not it for me. But it is really pretty. I will say, whenever I was deciding to do this video, I was like, I'm going to put some of this stuff on and change my mind. But I'm not so far because like what I'm saying to you is true. No matter how beautiful this highlighter is, I just know personally it's like not something that I'm reaching for. Is that all of the face stuff? Cool. Let's move on to the eyes. I'm going to just use a MAC paint pot to prep my eyes. It's not on the chopping block. It's just what I'm using today. And I also haven't used it in a while. My Air Atelier primer. It's not done per se, but I can tell it is. She's ready to say bon voyage. So I am on the market for a new eyeshadow primer. I heard a lot of good things about the About Face one. However, I don't think any of the Ultas near me sell About Face, which is a bit of a bummer because it is only $13, but then I would have to pay shipping on it. I'm not looking to, spoiler for my budget, I'm not looking to buy anything this month because of, well, it'll come up in the budget video. Not that the budget videos are, I think, particularly exciting to anybody, but I am doing them, so. And I will continue to do them throughout the year and next year because I think they're worthwhile. There is something about publicly talking about your budget that makes you think about it a little bit more. I just set that with the Pat McGrath powder to give me a little bit of an easier blending moment. Wasn't planning on buying anything this month. The only thing that I might consider buying, if it is in fact real, is the Natasha Denona Retro Glam Midi palette. I want to, 1, see if it's real, 2, if it's released this month, 3, I'm already trying to trick myself into not trick myself, but I'm already running all of the scenarios in my brain to be like, we can do this, this, and this. We don't need it. So it is one of those things where I've been thinking about it. It got brought up in my Critical Sass Live. Then the lovely, lovely Danny, Hello Nurse on Instagram, sent me the photos that were leaked on Reddit. It's a promising look. I'm excited to see it if it does happen. Like right now, none of the holiday palettes are like singing to me so strongly that like I feel like I need to run. This next one is gonna get decluttered. I feel like weird about that, but not really. And it is the Chantecaille Butterfly Eye Quartet. So this is what the packaging looks like. I like a quad. I like how easy quads are. And I do think this is really pretty. So I'm not saying that none of that is true. Here's the good look at the color story. In all honesty, I just don't reach for it. And as pretty as it is, and it's not even, I don't think that this formula is worthwhile because I do think if you have fair skin and you are looking for something really easy and you don't mind like a shimmering look. I don't know if the other quads have mattes in them. They don't make this one anymore. It was like a limited edition situation. If you are looking for something really soft, something very a la Michelle Wong, then I think you could get a lot out of this palette. Like it's so faint, which I don't think inherently is a bad thing, but I can understand why people don't want to spend this much money on something like this because it's like kind of like, go on, girl, give us nothing. It's not really nothing, though. It is pretty. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about keeping it. because I'm putting it on my eyes. It's so easy to blend. It's so nondescript though. I think both a positive and a negative for it is that it's like not much is happening. No, I'm gonna pass on this. While I do like a soft look sometimes, I still think I like more impact than what this is providing. I do in fact have 2 eyeshadows on my eyes. I'm gonna zoom you in. But it's just so faint. Again, I don't necessarily consider that to be a bad thing. In the way I like to do my makeup at this time, this is just not what I'm super into. And I gotta be honest about it, but they blend so easily. They're very easy to use. So it's interesting. I have this overall theory that I think luxury eyeshadows are like the best eyeshadows for people who are just learning to do their eyeshadow. Except I completely understand why that would not be the price point that anyone who's getting into makeup would want to start with. I think Viseart shadows are really easy to use. I think that Natasha Denona eyeshadows are really agreeable, but I've heard that other people have had issues with them when they started doing makeup for the most part. Because they have that right amount of pigmentation where it's like, it's really easy to blend them. Most of the shades really work together in their color stories, so there's not something really confusing that you would have to like think too much about. I just do think that luxury eyeshadows are where it's at for beginners. But that's like I could do a whole video on that. Could I do a whole video on that? No, I could do a 5-second segment that I just did and you saw it. I'm going to do a little bit of black coffee from Pat McGrath just on the tight line on the top. I'm not going to do the bottom. The next thing I'm getting rid of is not something that it's bad or I didn't enjoy it. It's just something that has come to the end of its like shelf life, and it is the mascara from Ismaya. I do want to spray my face real quick before I put on that mascara. That's my order of operations. I'm going to try to finish up this Mist and Fix 02 from Makeup Forever. Here's just kind of like my very final thoughts on the Ismaya mascara. It is very good. I have enjoyed using it a lot. As it has aged, I have enjoyed it even more as it kind of like the formula, you know, for whatever reason, mascaras, when you first open them, they're one thing and then later on they're another thing. It stayed pretty consistent, but I have found it to be more easy to work with as time has progressed. You all know that I have no shame in spending money on some makeup product. There is something about an almost $40 price tag for a mascara that is just unreasonable for me. That's just kind of like where I land on it. It's like, I'll buy a $30 mascara, but $40 just seems like pushing it a little bit too much. Now, perhaps if I was someone who pushed the 3 months to, oh, it says this one's good for 6 months. I could, in theory, keep using it. That's how long they say the efficacy of this product is. Here's the thing that I don't really want to risk is my eyes. I value my ability to see. I value the vision, even though I don't have perfect vision. I value the vision that I do have. I just don't want to get an infection or something in my eye that would really be the worst to me. So I'm going to use it one last time and then move on from it. But yeah, I really like the way this looks. I do also find that it has been easier to get like the more dramatic look with it as it has aged. I really didn't find that unless it was really, really humid or raining out, that this moved. A few tears, you know, have escaped my eyes while I've worn this. It didn't really move. It's pretty easy to take off in the evening. I really like it, but also there are mascaras at different price points that I feel similarly about. Like the Lash Clash, which we'll talk about in my budgeting video because wouldn't you know it, I didn't end up buying Lash Clash, but I bought something else. Although now putting this on versus the other thing that I recently bought, I don't know, I kind of like this more. But I like that one too. It's okay. I can use a mascara that I find to be just okay for the next few months, but I don't even find it to be okay. I was really impressed with it. Anyway, moving along. Rubber Lash has sailed its last ship. I'm gonna throw this lip on and it's not going anywhere. It's the shade Slip from Merit. Okay, so I was watching State of Kate's video and this actually had happened to me right before State of Kate talked about this on her Instagram, that it seems that the lighter shades, the formula of them is not as durable. As you can see, it's definitely from the pressure of my lips pushing up against the product to put this product on. I don't have this issue with 1990. I only have it with this one, and those are the only 2 shades that I have. So I just wanted to point that out. It's not really a deterrent for me to use it. I think what my plan is to maybe work on using up the tip of it, and it maybe will apply a little bit better flattened out and using it as a lip balm. But that one's Slip, which I haven't used as much as I've used 1990. But as you can see, I mean, I've used 1990 quite a bit, and you can see how that hasn't happened. Every time you talk about makeup, the makeup will reveal more things to you every time. Maybe I will not be buying another lighter shade of the Merit lipstick, but I still like the color Slip, and I will continue to wear it. It doesn't bother me that much, but if it would bother you, I would just wanted to make you aware of that. That wraps things up. Here's my final face of things that I'm getting rid of and things I haven't used in a long time, but we're gonna go with the concept of, I came up with a very catchy title for this. You've already seen it, but I was very proud of that. And I was just like, we're gonna do that video. Well, I had the concept, and then I had the concept of the title of the video, and I was like very pleased with myself. I almost said I'm very chuffed with myself. I must have been watching something, either a British person or something, like a British YouTuber or something, but I was like, I'm completely chuffed. I don't say that word. That's like not part of my vocabulary. If you are new here and you are not subscribed to me, I would really appreciate it if you did subscribe. We have fun here. Again, I'm on Patreon if you would like to support me further. Everyone on Patreon gets the same 2 videos no matter what tier you support me at. It's just a way for you to support my channel. It's one of those systems. We all get the same thing. We all are just supporting the channel. So I'd really appreciate it if you did support me there, but no pressure to. I understand if you can't or do not want to. Those are 2 things that are completely valid. Finally, make sure you like this video before you head out. That wraps things up for me. I really appreciate you all for watching. Remember to follow your haute, and you will find me. I will see you in my next video. Ooh, I think I'm gonna put the Merit lipstick in the thumbnail. That'll get you guys to click.